Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Richmond Parks and Recreation Board to order. I'll read a mission of the Richmond Parks. Richmond Parks and Recreation Department provides for the positive development and well-being of the Richmond community through the provision of parks, greenways, trails, and recreational programming and facilities while working in cooperation with other service providers and partners in the community to maximize all available resources. I believe we have some special guests here today.
I would like to make one comment, if I might.
Okay.
And that has to do with the rebranding of the city and how important the Parks and Recreation Department is to that identification for Richmond, Indiana. And I thought that the articles that were written in the paper were very positive regarding the Parks Department, and I thank you for that and your staff. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have two guests, I believe, here today. First one is Barry Kramer. Barry, I'd like you to come up. You want to have a few words. If you could limit it to about 5 minutes.
Who has the clock?
I'll take care of that. Thanks, Barry, for being here.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for accepting the request to speak with you. My name is Barry Kramer. I've lived here in Richmond now for about 30 years. Give me another couple months, and I can say that absolutely. I live over near Glen Miller Park, walk in the park and bike there sometimes. I moved to Richmond bringing my bicycle with me. I've been a lifetime bicyclist, and it has served me not only for recreation, but also, when possible, to get me to work, to run errands. I rode my bike down here today. And so I recognize it's good for my health, it's good for my pocketbook, and it's good for traffic, because every trip I make on a bike avoids one more car on the road to congest it. And it's good for the environment because it's clean energy. So I was enough of an activist when I came here that I was asked to serve more than 10 years ago on the advisory committee for the then long-range planning for bicycle and pedestrian concerns, which resulted in a comprehensive bicycle and pedestrian master plan about 10 years ago. And one of my concerns before saying yes to being on that advisory committee is it going to sit on the shelf? And so 10 years later, I'd say, can we bring this down off the shelf and start, implementing some of it? So I've always had my eyes out for what are some safe streets to ride, what are the best connections to different facilities like parks, where are routes that children can ride safely to school. When I see people riding their bikes to work and they're on the sidewalks, they're riding the wrong lane, how can we make it safer? So for the last, coming up on a couple years, I've been working with an informal and unofficial group that we just simply call the Walkability, Bikeability Working Group, or Walking and Biking Working Group, or whatever. And that was begun here by Elisa Borland when she was with Wayne County Extension. She's now moved back to her native California. Our group is still trying to continue meeting. We try to be a group that brings together different cycling interests. I've named some already. Some people like to ride the bike just for recreation, and some of our members of the group are doing that. I'm a little bit more comprehensive in that, I don't work anymore, but I can still run errands on my bike. I still like to feel safe. So we've been working, try to interface with city officials, try to get them seeing how they could work better together to implement some of what was in the master plan was called low-hanging fruit, which in this case was on-street facilities rather than built-up facilities like we had with the cycle track in downtown and into the depot and so forth. Shared lanes or separated lanes, signage, things like that. So one of our priorities, as we sort of looked at things, was to try to connect Glen Miller Park with a route that comes to the Depot District, connects up with Cardinal Greenway, and then extends on out to Salisbury Road and possibly the county fairgrounds. We think that'd be a nice long route that people could enjoy riding. It already gets used extensively, but there are people who avoid it because it doesn't seem fully safe. In honing in on that a little bit, we've been looking specifically at a link from North 7th Street, Fort Wayne Avenue, North D Street, that interesting little intersection there in the Depot District, and the 2 to 4 blocks that would get us over to Cardinal Greenway, and how we might just have a direct access there. And I've got some indication from the city that maybe when that intersection is investigated and studied for improvements within the next year or two, then maybe that little segment could be tossed in there with that. Primarily today, I wanted to see how the park board and Denise would respond to some thoughts about how to make, in this case, starting with Glen Miller Park, how to make the park more bikeable. I have been riding through there, and it's like, how could I make it more enjoyable to go through here? How could I find different, how could I get more mileage out of it, And so it's been going through my head, but it's like, I need to find out if these folks would even be interested, I don't want to just come trotting in, throwing something at you and say, here, look what I did, So the question would be whether it would be possible to come up with a plan, a map, or whatever that would show how we might course a bicycle route through Glen Miller Park to make it safer and more fun. So that's my ask today. Where do I stand on time?
I think
5
you're
minutes.
good. Good job.
And I can imagine some questions are popping up. I'd be glad to respond.
Well, I think, we're always interested in the safety of people going through the park. So I think we'd be interested in at least talking about it and see where we go from there. And so I would recommend that you get with Denise and see where we go.
Denise and I have known each other for a few years, so we can do that.
Yeah, and I think that also, if it could, we are looking at an overall plan for Glen Miller going forward, and this would include more of that type of plan, but strategically. But I think a good, solid recommendation from cyclists as yourself would be wonderful.
Might be helpful.
To weigh in on that. Definitely we want something bikeable, walkable, and then we've also talked a little bit about maybe closing some areas, not, obviously not a lot of areas, but maybe the area by the Madonna, making it more of a trailhead area, things like that. But we've talked a little bit about, some of those things, but we really are looking at maybe a kind of a sub-plan or a strategic plan for Glen Miller alone.
The timing might be fairly good right now.
Yep, here in the next probably 6 months to a year, we'll be looking at something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So we will definitely clue you in and get you involved.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
The next person is not necessarily, I would say, a special guest, but she is very special. And she is new to the team. And I talked about her at our last meeting in June. We talked a little bit about her role and how she's going to serve the Parks Department and the park system as a whole, but not only just serve in that capacity, but really the capacity of a lot of organizations. This particular position, which is new in 2025, it came from our master plan. And it was one that we are just really excited to be able to have, and one that we're really excited to put out there to all of our organizations and partners in, and just keep pushing to see what we can do more of to help others. And so, we know that we can only help so many within our park system, but when we reach out to other partners, we can help so many more because of who they're reaching. So we also know that there are some gaps that need filled within our partnerships. We know that there are things that they want to do that maybe they can't do on their own. So we want to make sure that we're fulfilling that role and saying, how can we help as a city and as a park system? And Stephanie here, as the special projects and community engagement coordinator, will be fulfilling that role and working hard to make sure that she works with our partners and also helps fill any roles within the park system as well. So I'll bring up Stephanie and let her talk a little bit about her role and herself, and so you can get to know her a little bit better.
Nice to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you.
I am, as Denise said, the Special Projects and Community Engagement Coordinator. I stepped into this role because my background in outreach, project management, and wellness have shown me that when we collaborate throughout the community and form partnerships, we can make a lasting change. I'm also a nature enthusiast, so I feel like this kind of marries two things that I love. Outside of work, I'm a yoga instructor. I have a son, and I love to garden. So I look forward to working with the community more, and thank you for having me.
She will also, she will also be setting up at all of the tabling opportunities. Sometimes we just don't have that opportunity to be able to do those outreach opportunities. All the booths that our community offers, we just don't have that opportunity to do that. So passing out, fans like this that we gave you, and some of the swag, and just having those conversations with our community members to talk a lot about parks and what we offer, and we learned a lot last week that people don't even know about the Middle Fork Trail. We also learned that people don't know about some of our primitive trails, or even that we have other trails other than the Cardinal Greenway or the Gorge Trail. So I think we really need to put ourselves out there and tell people more about what we have to offer, and Stephanie will be the one to do that. So we're very happy about that, and excited that we have this position to start doing that.
Okay. So now we have a bid opening.
And then we're going to open this bid right now. And then Laura is here. She's been working on this project and helping me with this restoration project. And she's going to take this bid under advisement in hopes that it has everything that we need so that we can award this bid in new business.
Okay, the bid is Browning Chapman LLC. They've got labor for total price of $164,000 even, broken up by $106,600 in labor, $57,400 in materials. Got the project schedule. Was one other thing I think we're supposed to.
Can't hear you. Speak
The
up.
project schedule.
I'm just talking. Yeah, I've got,
I can't hear.
yeah, they got E-Verified.
You're mumbling.
That it? Okay. We'll take this bid under advisement.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I ask, I think we just touched on this morning at the park budget presentation, but what are you doing with the fountain?
Yes.
It doesn't work, right?
Right, so it currently leaks, and the pump has leaked as well.
For a long time, right?
Correct, yeah. We're able to get it going for the Rose Garden, but it can go for a day, and then we really need to, we've got it going for Bloom and Glow, and then we really need to shut it off because it just drains. And
We're not talking about the fountain out here, right? You're talking about the one in Glen Miller?
We're talking about the one at the Rose Garden.
At the
Yeah.
E.G.
At the
Hill
E.G. Hill
Memorial
side,
Garden.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nice to
it's-
know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I always appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're talking about is the one that I requested in the lit budget. Yes, that's not the one we're talking about.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
If I may, Denise, I'd like to, Mike, if I could. You mentioned about running the fountain during the Bloom and Glow event, which is obviously the biggest event of the year for the Richmond Rose Garden, which I'm on that board as well. And we appreciated that. It makes, it brings the whole process together of that rose garden when it's operating. So it's so important. And Laura, thank you and your people for, making the area very presentable, because we use it all during that event, and it was very nice. I don't know if Laura's mentioned to you, but we are reviewing at the park board, or the Rose Garden Board, the opportunity, and we're looking at the legal aspects of taking donations that we've received and redirecting some of those funds, which our intent is, if we can legally, is to support this project. And we would.
The fountain project.
Yes, the fountain
Thank you.
project as part of the Rose Garden Board and that group to help that process.
And as you can see in new business, there is a link there, and we'll get to that here in a little bit, but it does describe a little bit about the fountain restoration project. And we were able to get approved from the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority, as well as Patronicity. So this is a matching project where we receive $50,000 and we raise $50,000. And it is part of the Hoosier Enduring Legacy Project. So it's part of the HELP funds that we've been working with as well through the county initiative. So we do have some funds available, but we only have a certain amount of funds, and the rest will have to be raised through a capital campaign.
Can I ask how much is budgeted for this project?
There's not anything budgeted. This is an improvement
Through donations.
through a capital campaign.
And cap-
So currently, right now, we may have pledged approximately 80,000 with the matching funds. So, I mean, we have to match that.
We've got a ways to go, but we're going to get
Got a
there.
long ways to
Yeah.
go.
But we're going to get there, determined to do that. Just for whatever purpose it holds, since we're talking about the E.G. Hill Garden. I don't know if you're aware of it, but this year in October, on October 4th, is the Tales of the Departed at Earlham Cemetery. I am going to represent E.G. Hill in that event.
I heard.
Great.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So.
I've done that before.
Yeah, we'll have the opportunity to maybe draw a little more attention to that project. So that's the plan.
We'll bring you back up in new business if that's okay.
Okay.
To talk about the bid.
Yeah,
Is that all right?
sounds good.
Okay. Is there any amendments needed? Everybody read the minutes? Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval of the minutes from the June 12th meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Park Superintendent report.
Yes, so I have a lot to share today, and I'll go quick, but I did want to kind of show you some of our fun things that we have going on. We have our back-to-school splash bash. We also have our farmers market food fight that's going on next Tuesday. Also wanted to kind of show, how thorough our team is on when they They design events, so I wanted to kind of showcase that with you. This is our second annual Farmers Market Food Fight and how it's structured. I also wanted to kind of show you the staff training manual for our JUCO team because it is a phenomenal training manual. I also wanted to share with you some of our good news stories, some of our thank you cards we've gotten in the last couple weeks, because those are always wonderful. And then I also wanted to share a kind of fun thing, Patronicity, who we've been working with for several years. We've done over 7 projects with Patronicity through various partners where the matching funds come in. And they contacted me and asked if I would be a panelist at their, for one of their proposals that they're doing in Austin, Texas, for the Greater and Greener Conference for the City Parks Alliance. And so I thought that was a really cool opportunity, so I said yes. And so there's only 2 to 3 panelists that have been chosen, and so I'm very honored to be chosen to do that. I'm very thankful for the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority for all that they've done for us, and for Patronicity for their guidance that they do for all of our events and all of our projects that we've been able to do. So having them ask me to be able to present all of our projects that we've been able to work with them on, I think that this is a wonderful opportunity. So I, of course, said absolutely. So I thought that was a really cool opportunity. I also wanted to highlight that I'm sure that you've heard, but everything has been transferred and closed on the Berryfield Park. And we did transfer those funds over to utilize in Middle Forks docks. So we should be seeing those docks arrive, at least the first set that was fixed soon. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware that that has been done. I also wanted to let you know that, and since Laura's here, I'm going to brag on her a little bit. She, of course, is an ISA certified arborist, and she conducted a basic tree risk assessment for a tree that was a neighbor's tree. There was a complaint from a neighbor on a tree that needed to come down. And sometimes, we need to really just assess that tree and decide, is that something that is a priority or not? And so Laura and I talked a lot about that, and we talked about how we need a priority, a way to go forward in terms of taking down priority trees, and we need an actual plan in place to do that, and develop a risk assessment and base those tree removals on that. And so Laura is coming up with a plan for that, and like I said, she did a risk tree assessment, and it was awesome. And so I just wanted to kind of show you that. You don't have to read it, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew that these are the things we can provide because we have a certified arborist on staff, and it helps us going forward, cost analysis and all that. So just appreciate Laura being able to provide that for us.
I have a question, if I might.
Yeah.
Because this, what we have approved for the tree inventory assessment, will there be a connection with this?
Well, a lot of things
with
that
Laura?
she does are in connection with this, but not necessarily for trees that would be potentially in a neighbor's area, or could be right on the line where we're kind of questioning, is that the neighbor's tree, is that our tree?
Wants to speak.
You want to
Okay,
say something as well? Yeah.
yeah, because,
But I think we're really interested in coming up with a policy that we bring back to the board for adoption on how we move forward with these priority trees.
okay.
As far as the tree inventory goes, the trees in manicured areas of parks will be included in the inventory. The wooded areas are not initially, but if they complete the rest of the inventory and there's money left over, then they plan on doing a basic assessment through the wood lines and some of like the high priority areas in Glen Miller. But like every tree that's mowed around will be included in the inventory and assessment.
I did, that's probably the only more recent approval that we've had where I've gotten negative feedback on it because of the cost and the benefit of having such an inventory at that cost. Not that it's, it's a grant. So, but it's still taxpayer money, and that was the avenue or where it came from that I did receive a little negative input on that.
And thinking about costs and the damage that hazardous trees can do throughout our entire city, like this inventory will give us the tools and it'll tell us where all these trees are so that we
The
can.
ones that are at risk.
Yeah, like in the
Yeah.
right of ways throughout the entire city.
Yeah.
So that we can like be proactive about removing the ones that we need to take down. But also know where we can be planting them back without running into gas lines and water lines and.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Because I believe that the people that have questions about it, or questioning it, are listening to this meeting. So thank you for your input and what I want them to take away with what the benefits to us are.
And I think.
To that end, can you remind us what the grant was that funded it?
So it was originally started with the Inflation Reduction Act, and it was federal money that got passed down through the state Community and Urban Forestry Office. So it was a state grant that we applied 3 times for, and on the 3rd time, we had the highest ranking application of all the applicants. So a lot of that was due to the work that we did with the Environmental Resilience Institute and having Rania here last summer to create the priority planting plan. So we had a lot of pieces of the puzzle, but having the inventory and a software program to be able to manage the trees is going to be like the next step. So it was a state grant and 0 match. It was a pass-through federal. So, and that contract is being reviewed right now, but hopefully it'll be good to go soon and we'll have it completed in the next few months. So.
Thank you. And so, Mike, to what I would say to people concerned about utilizing tax dollars for something like this is a reminder that when state and federal grants come through, those are tax dollars going for this purpose to some community, no matter what. We might as well take the opportunity to bring additional dollars here for things that can be beneficial like this.
Honestly, Dakota, I think their main point was the fact that that money could, at the upper level, when it went in that kind of direction, could be better utilized.
Sure.
That's
But that is not
the
our
point.
decision,
Right.
or anybody locally's decision.
We have no choice.
Yeah.
So we take advantage of the
Absolutely.
opportunity. Agreed.
Did you have anything from Jim that you wanted to pass on?
Nobody did have one more thing.
I'm sorry.
I have this in front of you. This is our financial strategy for 2026. This is what I presented today for the mayor, the controller, and a few council members. So I just wanted to make sure that you all had it as well. This is the 2026 request. It also goes through various areas of our request, including, I'll just kind of go through it just a tad bit, but I want to make sure I draw your attention to a few things. It goes through our park fund and the request that we had there, and then it also goes through golf and the request that we are making for golf, so I want to make sure that you guys review that. And then I will be sending that your way at the next meeting for approval. It also goes through the golf action plan, and it's up to date as of now. So I wanted to make sure that you are aware of the golf action plan that we've been working hard on. So I wanted to make sure you had a copy of that. It also has the golf equipment. We've been trying to update the golf equipment on here so that you have that in your information. And then I have a section on capital requests and asset plans. So All in yellow in the blue section here are the requests that I made in 2026 for our capital requests. And then I have our fleet asset plan, our mower asset plan here, and then our capital asset plan. So you have all of those here as well. I've also given you a section called budget concerns. These are 5-year increase opportunities here that show where things have been increasing. And it kind of gives you a holistic picture of how we have been kind of falling short in different areas and how we've been having to make it up in different areas. So this is a real good picture of how it showcases that there are so many things outside of our control. And while tax dollars are going down, circuit breakers are going up, and we are having to deal with salary surveys going up, and salaries needing to go up, park teams going down in terms of people. And so, this just really shows that holistic picture for you. And then property and liabilities going up, insurance are going up. So it just shows you in the last 5 years, we've had to account for $1.5 million somewhere. And that's our budget. So obviously, we've lost that. And so I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. We talk a little bit about, and this is kind of a thing that I really want you guys to kind of look at, but not worry so much about, which would be park challenges that we can overcome in this section with the person pushing the big rock. This is our facility needs assessment, and I'll tell you that we had our techs go around to every facility that we own and do somewhat of an inspection analysis on all of our facilities. And this was because we really need to know what everything needs. And, we have a lot of deferred maintenance, but we know that. And we can bite off a little at a time. And we need to understand that there are tools that we have to be able to work through these things. When there's a volunteer group, we need to pick one of these projects and put them on it. When there's maybe a decrease in another line item where we can kind of put a project in and cross this off our list, we're going to do it. So we have a list to go by, and while it seems daunting, many of these things we know are needed. We just have them all in one list, and some of these are already on our master plan bond list and also on our master plan. But we wanted to categorize them in one place. There's a lot of roofs that need to be done, but we've done a lot of roofs. We have a lot of our outdoor facilities and our shelters already done. So, while it sounds daunting and while it might look like it's a lot, it really, we've been doing a lot already. And so there's still a lot to do, but I explained it today. Bill can tell you. It's like having 25 houses. There's always something to do. There's always going to be something to do. We have 1,100 acres. You know how it is to take care of your own house, and imagine taking care of, 30 of them all at once. So there's always going to be something to do, and we just have to know that and appreciate it and work towards a common goal of fixing things when we can. And then we talked a little bit about our park toolkit and what we have in it. We have capital improvement bonds that we can utilize for these things. We have grants. We have the city operations budget, which I present each and every year and hopefully get the money that I request. We have donations, and we have generous donors who support the Parks Department on a regular annual basis, and sometimes, more than annually. And then we also have food and beverage tax and things like that we can utilize going forward. So there's a lot of park tools in our toolkit, and I gave you a little bit of information on the food and beverage tax and some facts there. This is something that we'll be working towards going forward and talking through, and you all will be included in those conversations. This is still in its infancy, and something that we'll be utilizing as a tool in our toolkit, and something that we'll be able to do some of these projects with. So I wanted to make sure that you had that. And then,
Chairman, Are we, I know I know the Parks Department and the administration has looked at and completed getting rid of some of our park lands. Is that conversation continuing?
We've been doing a lot of that, and we've been very successful. We've
Right.
obviously offloaded McBride, we've offloaded Berryfield. There's another park that we're talking through at this point in time, but there hasn't been much movement from
Okay.
that.
I guess I'm just thinking in terms of, we're not going to have as much money next year and the following year. And at some point, we may have to make some difficult decisions about parkland.
I think that our parkland currently that we have and own is manageable. That is not something that I'm worried about. I think that the services that we provide are going to need to be, the parks are services, right? And people don't usually pay for park services like they do for other services within a city. So I think the hard decisions are going to be made with people deciding how do you want to provide quality of place services. Those are the hard decisions that really need to be made.
Or how we can continue to do it.
Yeah, not necessarily how to decrease park land. It's how do you want to provide quality park opportunities and destinations for our
Wouldn't you
community.
agree that that might be a discussion point? If we want to concentrate on some of the parks, we might get rid of some of the parks to do
I think
that.
there's opportunities to work towards federal and state grants to also be a part of the tools in our toolbox, to also work with food and beverage taxes. It's a luxury tax. It's not something we have to implement to everyone. That's the beauty of that. It's if we want to raise taxes for a bond that's across the board, like we've done before in bonds, I think that's a different story and a different conversation. And I don't think that everyone would support that. And so I would be more supportive of a luxury tax to people coming in the city and using that as a repayment source for a bond for capital initiatives than a hike in everyone's taxes to take care of what needs to happen within our park system.
Thank you.
So a lot of the supplemental materials you see here are some of the org charts, which you may have not seen before, so we can go over those anytime that you'd like. And then one thing I also wanted to talk through just really quick is a little bit different initiative in gorge activation that you're going to be hearing in the next month or so, which is something that I'll be presenting to council in a form of an ordinance, which we are going to start to go through and request to council to do a build, operate, transfer for our gorge projects going forward, which will speed things up and also have a cost analysis and a cost, it'll save on the end for some projects. Right now, we do a design, bid, build delivery method, and the consultants have recommended that the build, operate, transfer delivery method would be a better option going forward. So I gave you some information here, and you're welcome to research that on your own. It's not something that the city has done before, but it's not a new method at all. So that's why I wanted to start the conversation and let you know that it's something that we're exploring and talking through, and I introduced it today to council and to the controller and the mayor as well. So they're also both on board. But it's something that is fairly new to the delivery methods that we've used before. So just wanted to make you aware of that. And then there's benefits in all of that here. So I'm happy to go through this packet with you at any time, or if you're looking through it and you have questions, call me, text me. But I know it's a lot of information to soak in, but it is, we have a a lot that we do in the department. So I just wanted to make sure you had everything that you needed. And that's my report.
Did you have anything for Jim?
I do not. He's busy at the pool.
Financials. Okay. Do we have any questions? Oh, okay. Wes is not here. Becky, did you have anything?
God, no.
I'll go really fast. Okay.
Do we?
Our couch to 5K.
Yeah.
Hugely successful. I mean, really, really successful. So it was so successful, everybody wants to do it again and make it an annual event. So that's a good thing. And they're wearing their T-shirts everywhere, and I like to see that. Monday Mashup is coming back, which is what we do in a partnership with Reed and our instructors, and it's an informational 6-week program that really dives into things where both our members can ask questions and Reed can give answers of things like, how do I reduce my blood pressure? What do I do if I'm anxious? What happens if I need to manage weight? What's my heart going to do? And what are exercises that can complement it? What are nutritions and food? So it's a nice program. We are starting insurance programs early because we know everything's going to change on October and then in November. So we have Brian, who does the city things. He's coming out next week, actually, to do an informational thing to tell you, what do you need to know? What do you have to get ready? What's important? So that each month we can prepare for that. And we also we're designing a T-shirt. We just did a cyber safety unit yesterday that was really cool. We had James Bond from the Morrison Reeves Library come and do a cyber safety. And it was very nice because people actually asked questions that were very relevant to today and AI and what to do and how to know. So that was really good. We're having shedding sales. We're going to have 3 of those in a row, and those will be the last of August, September, and October. And it's a way to take things that we know our children do not want and find a new home for them that we all feel good about. So we'll have our shedding sales. Bat houses, luckily we have Brandon in-house here. For some reason, everybody's come to me and say they want bat houses. I don't know why, but we want bat houses. So he's going to come educate us on which bat house to buy, where to put it in your yard, how many bats do you want in your bat house. So he's going to give us a whole informational thing the end of this month on bat houses. Bingo is now there, starting in August, every Monday, every Thursday, and the last Friday. So that made the bingo group feel really good about that. And last, starting in 2 weeks, we will have our science fiction to science fact, and we're starting our movies. And the first one is Fahrenheit 451. So anybody who wants popcorn and wants to sit, and we're doing it as you have to talk out loud. I have to go here. You have to talk out loud during the movie. So we're breaking all the rules. You're eating popcorn openly, you're talking out loud, and you're reviewing what's happening and what we know is now fact that used to be really science fiction. So that's what we have going on. So any questions or anything? And we're still adding new members. How cool is that? I think we added 10 in June, and we've already had 4 new members this month. So that's not bad.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, don't think we have any other reports, boards, concerns, or comments. Delegation correspondence, old business, new business. Approval of a Whitewater Gorge Trailhead Improvements, change order number 2.
This change order for the trailhead, and just like I told you before, I will bring every change order to you that has any type of monetary value, but I also bring change orders just so you know what's kind of happening. But this change order outlines any modifications to the original contract, including the base bid. We had several items that we needed to adjust according to the quantities, prices, and notable changes being reduced in standard bollards and the decorative stone, but also we had to add the addition of wood post bollards, planting soil, and natural boulders. So there were some additions, there were some subtractions, and it all equaled out to change order number 2, which is an increase of $28,222.99. So that is what I am recommending, that we move forward. Though probably every month you'll have something coming to you for this project. There's a lot going on, and so I just wanted to make sure that you know that. But that's my recommendation, would be to go forward with change order number 2.
This is still the first phase of the project?
Yes.
You said for $28,200?
$22.99.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the change order and in the amount of $28,202.99.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, contract number 104-2025 to Smurley Brothers in the amount of $233,000 for the construction of a pole barn at the maintenance complex.
Yes, this is a budgeted, 2025 budgeted expense. You'll see in our line item for infrastructure, we accounted for $200,000. We do have a cost savings from our capital line item for the remainder of the $33,000, which will be moving up to this line item. We will be doing the demolishing of the existing building to save funding on this project. And this will also help us to keep all of our tools, equipment, and fleet under one under roof at our maintenance complex. So right now, we have some under roof, but others are out around the gate. But with this particular pole barn, we'll be able to fit everything in another area. So
That's the maintenance building at Glen Miller.
correct. So there'll be there'll be 3 buildings on site at that complex.
Any questions?
I just want to confirm what I think I heard with the budget. You said 200,000 was budgeted, and then we're moving the other 33 from another line item that was savings. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure I understood that right.
Yes.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve contract 104-2025 to Smurley Brothers in the amount of $233,000 for the construction of a pole barn at the maintenance complex.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We bid this out, right?
Correct.
How
We
many?
had 2 bids.
2 bids?
Item, approval of a contract 109-2025 to Catron's Glass, the amount of $5,516.74 for new commercial-grade doors purchased and installed.
We've invested this past year for new locking systems for our restrooms at the playground, Roosevelt Hill, and other areas. Right now, the doors are in need of replacement to keep these locking systems in working order. These doors are rusted, and so they're having trouble actually locking and shutting. These locking systems, they actually help with offloading some of our overtime to be able to also keep the restrooms open longer at these facilities, at these restrooms. So it's time to get the brand-new commercial doors at these locations. So that's where the approval comes in, because they will have to install them. That's why it's a service.
Questions or comments? Entertain a motion to approve contract 109-2025 to Catron's Glass for the amount of $5,516.74 for new commercial-grade doors purchased and installed.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Are we installing them? Okay, that's what I thought.
Approval of park system rental rate increase.
I'll let Emma just reiterate our rental increase if you have any questions. But as we discussed in the June meeting, this is a recommendation from our financial advisors, Baker Tilly, during our 5-year financial review. Park staff are recommending an across-the-board rate increase. Most are very minimal to increase the revenue to sustain services rendered. We're also requesting the column to the far right with the higher amount for facilities is projected in our 2026 budget.
Did anybody have any questions or concerns about what we had talked about at the last meeting as far as increases for the cabin and shelter rentals?
The Charles House is not included on this list, is that?
Charles House is the top one. It's the very
Ah,
first
the
one.
one I can't read? Gotcha, thank you.
Any questions or comments?
Pretty straightforward.
So there's an increase here of, it's looking like we're anticipating almost an additional 30 grand to the budget, if I'm doing quick math right.
Yeah.
And we talked during the last meeting about the need for additional funding because of tax caps, SB1, et cetera. I hate that my question has to be, is this going to cover it?
No,
No. At
this will not cover it.
the 2026 proposed, the by 15% or
This-
$15 also will not.
No.
That's the one we're going with is the 15 and
Right.
100, the higher one. But we are also possibly anticipating within the next year or two afterwards, the possibility of needing another increase. But we also don't want to do too much too fast either.
There's, as of the estimates at this time, the property tax is down almost $300,000. And so you can see that in the budget concern section. It will show you the estimates for the circuit breakers as well as the property tax and then on the the third page in your budget book, it goes over the property taxes and the excise tax and the fit tax and the commercial tax, all we have, that won't even cover the decrease in those taxes. Just those three taxes alone. Just so you know.
Any comments or questions?
These are all estimates.
Yeah, we took the average of rentals that we get throughout the past few years and kinda-
And just so you know, the taxes are estimates, and we get the real circuit breakers coming in usually around May, when we're already in budget. But the other estimates will come in at the end of July, where we'll have a closer projection to the real numbers. So this could change and fluctuate a little bit, and I may have to give you a different.
It's hard to estimate the demand curve for this. It's pretty flat. That's kind of the approach you're looking at it from.
Or at least the rentals.
Yes, and whether that will continue to progress in that manner, we don't know. We'll see if there's a little,
Dip.
yeah. It leads you to wonder if we're considering it flat, why not charge a little more?
I think that, and respectfully, we have to take in consideration our customers. We don't want to outsell ourselves. And, we want to provide a service for them and a gathering space for their events and, their family gatherings and their parties and their showers. And we want to be that space for them. So we don't want, we're not trying to make a huge revenue off of this. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to really cover some of our direct costs.
So we'll just see if that continues and then review it again next year, I'm assuming.
I would agree.
Our biggest time period is holidays, really. Holidays and graduations fill up as soon as we open rentals. So those time periods are almost guaranteed every year.
I agree with what Denise said. I continue to feel very disappointed that we've been put in this position by the state government that has allowed municipalities to be hurt so terribly for this year and moving forward. But I'm deeply appreciative to both of you for maintaining the delicate balance between financially providing for the Parks Department while continuing to support the citizens and the customers that come and rent the shelters. Because for a lot of people and families, this is their only option, and the cheapest option for them to be able to gather in that way. So thank you for all of your hard work putting this together.
So can I hear a motion to approve the rate increase?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Fountain restoration project.
Yeah, so I'm going to have Laura come back up here. She can kind of guide us through the bid. But I just kind of gave you a little bit of a summary here. That was a link, the hyperlink there on your new business section. But we've really been anxiously waiting for this project to begin. I talked to you a little bit about the matching funds. I also gave you a link to the worksheet as well as a little bit of information on E.G. Hill. So I'll let Laura kind of talk through that just a tad.
Yes, I would just like to say that I put a lot of research into finding companies that we would trust with a project of this scope. The fountain was built in 1937, 4 years after E.G. Hill passed. E.G. Hill was also one of the first park commissioners in 1894 and has done so much for the Parks Department and the city of Richmond throughout all of the 20th century. So this fountain is extremely historic and very sentimental as it commemorates Hill's Floral and everything that they did for Richmond. And that is the vision in restoring the fountain. Browning Chapman has demonstrated that they have the ability to do it in a way that will hopefully last almost another century. They have experience with historic limestone restoration. The limestone will be sourced from Indiana, and it will be made to replicate the original 1937 picture that we have with the two bowls on top of the fountain. But it'll be deconstructed. The pieces that can be saved will be saved. New pieces will be carved as needed. The plumbing will be completely new and moved to a different location outside of the sidewalk. And then the fountain will be reassembled on a concrete pad that will hopefully provide much more stability for it, as well as deal with some drainage issues. So I recommend that we move forward with this bid. I don't think that there's anyone else is qualified to do the work. And we also are working with an Earlham intern this summer who is helping create a publicity video, and I think that the fundraising aspect of it will be something that we can get people's support with when they realize the historic importance of this project. So.
One question I have is the bid in phases?
There is this a timeline, a work schedule included in here, and that is something that I did notice. They had some winter, it would be starting in like August of this year and completed and at the end of March of 26. However, they have 60 days for winter weather and plumbing and concrete starting in February. So I would maybe make a recommendation that we have 90 days for winter weather and construction start again at the beginning of March, which would push the completion back to April. Hopefully still be able to, it would be done by Bloom and Glow of next year.
I think that's something that we could work with them on.
Also, that doesn't include anything else besides the fountain. So the sidewalks being redone and the roses, we're going to try to propagate and save a lot of the roses. But there will be features outside of the fountain, potentially pergolas and some arbors that will be in 2026 budget, I think.
And there's also a hope with some pavers and some walkways, looking at that as well in a separate phase.
I guess that was my question is, will we be protecting the roses out there when all this construction is going on? I guess we will be. And it's Brown and Chapman. Where are they from?
Browning and Chapman.
Browning?
They're located out of northern Indianapolis, I think. Was that the only copy of this?
Yes.
Do they want it back to look at? They have several other projects that they've done. They've done a project for IU and Purdue and a couple churches in downtown Indianapolis.
I was just going to say I have a couple questions and one comment. And I guess for Mike, do you know if Bloom and Glow for next year has been scheduled yet, if we have a date?
No, but it'll run around the same time, which is usually the
June.
first week in June. The Wednesday of the first week in June is traditionally the date.
What I might encourage us to consider, because of our deep partnership with the Rose Garden and their event, is some sort of disincentive for the contractor to miss certain deadlines and go beyond mid-May or the last week of May, so we can ensure that that project is fully wrapped up and in preparation for Bloom and Glow. I also had a question about the timeline for executing a contract based on this bid. We're talking about still raising money. Would we wait until the money had been fully raised before executing a contract? How would that process work?
Yes.
Okay, cool, thanks.
It's that simple.
Yes, the money has to be raised, but it's important, and we'll work with Browning and Chapman on that. It's important, so the project schedule would change, but it is important that we have all funds in hand prior to starting the project.
And so I guess my only concern with that was, I haven't actually seen the bid, but is there an expiration on the bid? So if we have to rebid if we don't raise the money in time?
Those are questions that we can ask,
Okay.
and I would
Just a
request
curiosity.
a motion in that regard, that you would put that into your motion, that we would approve it as it states, but then if there's any changes to we would change it in the. do you
Trying
know
to
what I
figure out
mean?
how to word that.
Yeah.
Where's Kim Vessels?
I would say,
Yeah.
Go right ahead. It's your idea.
I make a motion that we accept the bid from Browning and, help me out, Chapman, in the amount stated. I don't have the bid in front of me, Mike.
$164,000.
$164,000 contingent on raising money for this project. And that there is no expiration for the bid. Thanks, Denise.
Would,
Do you
before
want
you
to
go
include
to,
this?
would we need
No, I
to
think that'll come for the contract.
state in there something about what Dakota just mentioned about an incentive for them to be done by?
So Mike mentioned that. I think that would come in the contract, not in accepting
and we
the bid.
can't put it in the contract if it wasn't in the bid.
Ah, I see.
So.
That's helpful to know.
Yeah, so it's just not something we can do if we didn't offer a liquidated damages issue or anything like that in the bid. We can't issue it in the contract.
That makes sense.
Okay, I'd
Thank you, Laura.
entertain a motion for,
I think
Made the motion.
You made the motion.
Second.
you're hearing a second.
Not doing it again.
Why not? You did such a good job.
Yeah, did a good job.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I don't believe there's any further business. So
No, I did want to let you know that the reason why the agendas look a little different is because as of July 1st, there's been some changes, and we have to put all of the board at the top of the agenda, and things are just a little different these days in terms of what's required by the state due to House Bill 159, I believe, or is it 1159? Something like that. Anyway, so just wanted to let you know that they'll all be posted online. There's a YouTube channel now, so you all are famous.
All right,
And still more people watch this than we think
Yeah.
you know.
And it's good. Transparency is good, and more we share about parks, the better, right?
Absolutely.
Entertain a motion for
Adjournment.
adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.